Nice to meet you, Michelle Carney, CEO of Special Olympics Great Britain. Obviously, thank you so much for doing the part of our motivation inspirational project during these challenging times. Everybody's been in lockdown. We're starting to come out of lockdown now. There's so much anxiety and people struggling. And, when we look at the key workers on the front line all the time with the NHS, it's been a massive, struggle for everybody trying to get through the last 5-6 months. From my perspective, obviously I work for British Wheelchair Basketball, but also for college, Queen Alexandra College in Harborne, Birmingham. And we work with over 300 complex disability students in sport and different courses to support, their potential for employment. I've looked at the Special Olympics, and it started in 1968 from Eunice Kennedy Shriver, obviously the sister of John F. Kennedy, and it came over in 1978 through Chris Maloney. How did you get started yourself in the Special Olympics?
Well, I've been here in post 2 years now, and I didn't know Special Olympics existed in Great Britain before I saw this job. Now, when my whole career, my early career was in disability sport, and I'm like, if I don't know, who are we selling to? Disability sport was always a massive interest for me. While I was at uni, I spent a number of years working with Leeds Sports Development, a guy called Ken Black, and he took me under his wing. Did a whole load of stuff, including we did a European quad rugby, and we did lots of events like that, which I absolutely loved. I worked in Stockport in sports development, and I worked in the States with people with brain injuries and challenging behaviours. And I've also worked in the Learning Disability Service. Then subsequently, I went on I've worked at all different levels of sport: international, professional, community, charity, worked with governments, and the big NGBs, national governing bodies. But I didn't know Special Olympics existed in Great Britain. So I talk about Special Olympics being the best kept secret in Great Britain because myself and my peers, we should know, and we didn't. Yeah. And then when I saw this job, I was like, oh my, this is everything I've ever done in my career coming together in this one role. And it's just been a joy. And I firmly believe that I have the best job in sport, hands down the best job in sport.
That's amazing. We talk about sport in general and disability and inclusion sport, and there's a massive need now, especially with obviously lockdown, to get more people active. Looking at, you've got so many special programs that you actually highlight with the Special Olympics, and it's not just about the sport, is it? It's about working with the families, working with the people themselves, and help making that healthy athlete, but also supporting that future as well.
Yeah, as you said, it was established, Special Olympics was established in the States by the American royal family, if you like, the Kennedys. And Eunice Kennedy Shriver was a remarkable woman who believed that everybody had an opportunity to take part in sport. And what our movement brings, it's about sporting opportunity, but it's about fun, friendship, and enjoyment, and that's hugely important. And this is why COVID at the moment is a specific challenge. All our athletes, Special Olympics is the world's largest disability sports organisation. So there are, I think, nearly 6 million athletes registered to Special Olympics programs across the globe. There are 1.7 million people who live with an intellectual disability in Great Britain, and we're only reaching 10,000 of those. So we have an awful lot of work to do. But the joy of Special Olympics, because we're part of the Olympic family, so you've got Olympics, Paralympics, Special Olympics, but we're different in that they're about elite sport and one big event every 4 years. We're about sport every day of the week, every week of the year, outside COVID. But we also have world events, but they're not about selecting the best of the best. So athletes of any ability will get the opportunity to take part in a World Games. And we were in Abu Dhabi last year. It was my first experience of a World Games. There were 7,000 athletes, 20,000 volunteers. They estimate over 500,000 people watched the event at some point in person. And it was just incredible that these athletes, who for most of their lives, them and their parents, were told they would never amount to anything. And then they're walking out at the opening ceremony in front of 55,000 people. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so proud. I can't even imagine how proud their family and friends are that were in the stadium, but also around the world watching. You know, Harry, one of our athletes, when he was born, his parents were told he would never walk, talk, or even sit up. He won a silver medal in judo at the World Games. You know,
Fantastic. Yeah,
just full of those stories. Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, you know, obviously, you say you've been in the post 2 years, and thinking about, you know, the Special Olympics where it is at the moment, and you know, what's your fondest moment or achievement, do you think?
so many, and you know, I've had time to reflect on the 2 years, and it's been quite a ride. After my first week in post, I got my first experience of Special Olympics activity. We had our anniversary games in Stirling, and just the joy, the dance-offs. You know, I left the VIP reception at the back. I said I'd just like to go and be part of the meet some athletes and volunteers and stuff. And I partied at the opening ceremony. And once you're in, you're in. So that was a particular highlight. The World Games in Abu Dhabi was just extraordinary for so many different reasons. It was just amazing. And earlier this year, just before lockdown, we had our National Winter Games in Crans, Montana. And that was my first real experience of our winter sports, which we've not really developed as much. And the camaraderie, you know, seeing, as what you said before, the benefit to families and having that network of support. And our athletes love meeting each other, and the disco, and there's no hiding when the disco comes on. You know, I was pulled from hiding behind columns and pillars and dragged out on the dance floor. And yeah, fantastic. So all my highlights are any opportunity I've had to interact with our athletes, because they just make me laugh.
Fantastic. I mean, I've looked at the statistics of you know, what you've achieved. I mean, you've got 120 accredited clubs in the UK. You've got 27,000 regular sessions going on. Is that every week? You know, and over 10,000 athletes and 4,000 volunteers. That's staggering. But as you say, it's how do you reach more people? I mean, it's, you know, thinking about the colleges that, you know, you work with, and how do you, you know, get yourself out there even further?
We were looking at that because we only do what we do because we've got the volunteers and the dedicated volunteers. So we have a very, very small national team, really small for the scale of the role that we've got. So we are looking at how do we turn 10,000 participants to 100,000? What networks are out there? Given we've got minimal resource, you know, as a charity, we don't receive any central government funding. We don't receive any core funding. We have to find all our own money, and that takes a lot of time and effort. And we're still not in a position of stability. So we have to manage the growth along with making sure that what we do is high quality, because our athletes deserve that, and that it's safe, because our athletes deserve that, and that it's transformative, because we all deserve that. So we are really looking at the structure, the infrastructure, looking at who's out there, and, you know, colleges, universities, schools, mainstream clubs, looking at other clubs, because we all have a duty to be inclusive. That's my personal opinion. I think it makes the world a better place. So anybody who wants to help us get involved, and we are looking at the club structure, so it has to be high quality, safe, delivered by coaches. You know, our athletes deserve to be coached by qualified and trained coaches. So it's a challenge, but it's one that we're up for, and we're looking at how we move from 10,000 to 100,000, and you know what that will cost, what that will look like, and yeah, we'll do it.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm looking, again, as I say, I've done some research and everything else, but it's, you've obviously recently took on board and starting to work now with Two Circles. I mean, that's really impressive to be working with them, because obviously, you're looking to raise $1 million over the next couple of years, which is fantastic news for Special Olympics GB. Moving forward, thinking about obviously the future and obviously being in lockdown, I mean, you say yourself, you've had COVID-19 yourself. And it's been really difficult, but what's the future for like your athletes and families out there who are actually struggling at the moment?
Well, in times of crisis, we often see the very best in people, and Liverpool had sadly had to withdraw from hosting our national games, which were originally supposed to be hosted in 21, and we were looking at a date in 22. Now, whilst that could have been, was devastating news, what it gave us was an opportunity to go, actually, what else could we do? And the outpouring of love and support from cities, different cities around the country, and I'm already having conversations, who are really keen to get involved, tells me that actually people are starting to know a bit more about us and actually value what we've got to bring. And working with winning the partnership with Two Circles is a game changer for us. And we also won a pro bono contract with EY, so formerly Ernst Young, to look at our governance and risk. So we're now having big brands who want to be aligned with us and actually see that actually what we can all do together is, and I don't want to be grandiose about this, but let's go, it's changed the world. And those who get on board now have a real opportunity to change the landscape for anybody out there who lives with an intellectual disability or family member.
I think it's amazing. As I say, I've been involved with disability sport for over 20 years, and I've coached wheelchair basketball and all different types of different sports. And to watch these young people take part in sport and be active is amazing. And there's so much potential out there that people forget that it doesn't matter if you've got a disability, regardless what that is. You can do anything you put your mind to it, and it is amazing. Thinking about things, and obviously yourself, I mean, what motivates you and inspires you?
At the moment, so when we go through the challenging period that we've been through, I said to my team, our athletes have been through worse, but they get up and they, face every day with a smile. And, I'm like, these are just little bumps in the road to us. I like to remind myself of how far we've come and, what I've achieved. And, when we are in that crisis of confidence, because we all have a crisis of confidence, and you kind of go, oh my God, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I good enough? Am I this? I've had to learn to just kind of sit back and go, okay, what have you done and what have you been responsible for? How many lives have you touched in throughout your career? And my career has had lots of highs and lows as life, and I'm motivated by making the world a better place, and that sounds really twee, but I'm genuinely driven by finding a spark and lighting that spark in individuals, because it's people who will change the world, and you just do it one person at a time. And if we all believe what's in us, and what we've got to give, and and our job at Special Olympics is, I say, I can't sell Special Olympics. You know, our athletes sell Special Olympics. What I can do and what my team can do is create environments and platforms where our athletes can tell their own stories. They're the ones who inspire. They're the ones who have the strength. And our job is just to create the environment and allow them to shine and for other people to see how amazing they are.
Fantastic. I mean, I recently worked with Sophia Warner for the Superhero Tri, because obviously every year we do the Superhero Triathlon. And this year we worked with a lot of the West Midlands groups around, and one of them was Liberty in Staffordshire. And Liberty worked with a lot of intellectual disabilities. And the amazing thing for us is that every day they sent me pictures of them doing 20K here and 20K. And that to me just signifies how strong the bond is between people to support each other and also push themselves to limits. Thinking of like new athletes and getting involved in the Special Olympics, what would you say to somebody or an individual or a college that wanted to push forward somebody who wanted to be part of your organisation?
I mean, there's no activity going on at the moment with COVID, and we've got a return to activities, a very structured approach to making sure it's safe. What I would say is if you go to the website, which is specialolympicsgb.org.uk, and search your area, and you'll see the club contact there, and just make contact. Because we are very dependent on our regions, and we're really looking at that. You know, we have regional leads, and then we have country leads, and then they work with our core team to be able to pass it through. So I think just go to the regional contacts and you'll find those through our website. And if you can't, then just go to the generic info at Special Olympics.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we'll get back.
I mean, obviously we talk about lockdown, and the restrictions are being eased, and then there's talk of like there's local lockdowns coming in for certain areas. And obviously yourself have had COVID-19. What would you say to the key workers, the NHS, and people struggling at home, especially a lot of your participants? What would your message be regarding motivation and inspiration?
You know, it takes an army of people to keep the country going, and it's not just those that are visible. So it's those who've been working really hard behind the scenes, the cleaners, the cooks, you know, the delivery drivers, those who work to keep our energy going, you know, our gas or electricity, those who work behind the scenes on TV to keep us entertained, workmen working upstairs at the moment, banging away. You know, like the refuse collectors. So there's so many people that keep the country going who have just gone out and done their thing. And it shows that when we're in it together, you know, we can achieve so much. And, you know, neighbours are talking to each other. I've moved to London. I'm clearly a northerner. And, you know, people are chatting, saying hi. You know, our athletes, we talk about social isolation and, you know, how difficult this has been. But I would say, well, actually, this is how the majority of our athletes have lived before Special Olympics. They were socially excluded, socially isolated. You know, I talked to our athletes, and before Special Olympics, I said, what was life like? They didn't have friends, they were bullied, they had bottles thrown at them, and, you know, and then what a Special Olympics brought you. I had fun, you know, friends, I've developed confidence, I get really opportunities to travel. And it's life-changing, not just for the athletes, but the parents. So what I would say is, you know, I have had COVID. I was very fortunate to have a mild version. But that was good because when we have an athlete leadership team, and they're part of our wider leadership team, and they advise and challenge, and they meet us. They meet our full team once a week, which is brilliant. And they'd seen me getting sicker and sicker, and they got worried. And when I was told I had COVID, you know, I talked with the team and go like, how do we manage this message? Because it's really frightening. So the images we see on TV are, you know, people on ventilators and stuff. And, you know, like, oh, I don't know if the athletes could do it. I'm like, well, they've seen that I'm really sick and they're worried. So, you know, we had a conversation and they were brilliant. They asked the questions and they said it's actually nice to see that somebody has it and is not dying, you know, that's as brutal as it's that. So, you know, it's frightening, but any time of change and challenge gives us an opportunity to look at things differently. And I always take that as a positive. As you'll see, I'm an eternal optimist and believe that everything that's thrown at us gives us an opportunity to just think differently.
And that, I mean, you know, thinking about the interviews that we've done, and you know, and talking to lots of different people, and you know, inspirational people like yourself, and I think the biggest thing that's come out of these is that it is about reconnecting and about talking to people. And I think finding that is that, you know, people are actually starting to listen to people more now because they actually get an understanding of what it is to be in isolation. So hopefully, you know, from this, we will build, as you say, a better future for everybody. Before we finish, we always do a quote. So what I'd like to ask you is, what's your favourite quote to support motivation and inspiration? And why is the quote so important?
If I may, I've got a few of them. You sent me this question before, so I looked at the quotes that I have in front of my desk and on my fridge. So they all have a theme, as I just found out. So my big one, and I have this in you know, a few rooms in the house, is that she believed she could, so she did. You know, that's about that belief, like we can do anything we put our minds to. Be the change you want to see. You know, we all have an individual responsibility, and we can make change. This is what drives me. You know, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. You know, everybody's got stuff going on. You know, kindness can just go a long way. You know, just if you lead with being kind, you can't go wrong. And then finally, and this is pretty much sums kind of how I work. You know, some people want it to happen, some people wish it would happen, and some people make it happen. And you know, that's my job, is to make it happen, and we all have that within us.
Michelle Carney, pleasure to meet you, CEO of Special Olympics GB. Whatever you do, carry on the good work you're doing, and hopefully stay safe. And hopefully we'll meet again and have a great chat. And hopefully, you know, we'll have a massive party when all this is finished. So everybody's invited. So absolutely,
we will have yeah. Thank you, Andy. We will have the best coming out party ever in the history of the world. So you know, Special Olympics is just one big joyous movement, and we know how to party. So yeah. We'll be up for that big party.
Thank you, Michelle. You take care. Stay safe.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.